I'm not sure if this is the right sub to post this in, but I have a pretty disturbing experience that I would like to share. When I was 13, almost 14, I was a pretty messed up kid. I smoked, drank, stayed out late, and caused trouble around the neighborhood, etc. I had a friend who was 12 named Amanda who did the same bad shit that I did. The buildings were bought by new management, and with that came a team of security guards. I lived in a neighborhood of apartment buildings. A bit hard to explain. The kids in the neighborhood at the time all played and hung out together. Our ages ranged from 12 to 16, and one particular security guard became a bit too friendly with us. I never found out his real name, but his nickname was Security Bob. No idea why. I didn't realize how creepy it was until now. He used to give us cigarettes and talk to us like we were adults. He also never cared if we drank. We thought he was cool. We felt like he was one of the kids, I suppose. Being stupid, we wrote our names, so obviously Security Bob tracked us down. One particular night, my friend Amanda and I were drunk and decided to draw shit on the side of a building. But instead of having our parents or the police called, he simply told us that if we cleaned it off, we wouldn't be in any trouble. He said that he had the cleaning supplies in his office and led us there. There was only one man in the office when we got there, and Security Bob seemed to give him a signal of sorts. So he followed us into the back room. He told us to sit down, which was odd because I thought we were just getting cleaning products. He started off by saying he had a proposition for us. He had a film company, or something like that, and he wanted to film us. Apparently, the other security guard was the cameraman. We asked him what he wanted us to do, and he told us stripping, or sex. Basically, the more we do, the more money we get. Immediately I said, "That's illegal!" To which he said, "Not in Sweden. That is where the tapes go. No one here will ever see them. We ship them off." I really didn't believe this. My friend jokingly said something like, "How much money do I get if I only take my sock off?" I realized later that she was stalling, for she had already texted her sister to come pick us up, ASAP. Her sister showed up a couple of minutes later and we rushed out the door. The last thing Security Bob said to us was to think about it, and that he would be in contact. Or maybe he said for us to contact him. Either way, I stopped hanging out in my neighborhood for a while. I was too afraid to tell my mother. She was extremely abusive, and I was afraid that she would say I was lying, or blame me. A month later, the security was gone. No idea where they went. Never asked. So, Security Bob, let's not meet ever again. I used to take the bus everywhere. I'd go to my piano lessons downtown on the bus and be back by like 9:15, 9:30, unless I missed the bus or something happened to it. Flat tire, crazy person, etc. One night, I missed the bus twice. The first time I missed it, I was in this little store using the restroom and it passed. The second time, the bus literally just drove past me without stopping, even though I was waving my arms. I was just sitting at the bus stop at about 9:20 p.m. on this lonely street downtown. I didn't own a cell phone at the time, just so you know, when a car stopped in front of me and rolled down the window. This guy asked me if I wanted a ride. I couldn't see his face because it was dark, but he had this deep but sweet voice. I politely declined. "Come on, it's not safe for a beautiful young girl like yourself to be out here alone." "I'm fine, thanks," I said. He said okay and drove off, and started walking home. The bus stop closest to my house was about a 20-minute walk. I was walking down this street when I had this unnerving feeling. It was dark, and much later than the usual time I would be walking, but it wasn't that. It was something else. I looked around and noticed this parked car a few ways behind me. I kept walking down the sidewalk. I heard a soft noise, such as an engine to a car, that I hadn't noticed before. I looked back and realized that the car behind me was on, but the headlights were off. I started walking faster and looked back to see the car driving a bit faster as well. I just stopped and turned around and waved, so he or she would know I noticed them. I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea. The car drove closer to me, and a chill ran down my spine when I recognized it. It was the same damn car from downtown. It got next to me and rolled down the window. "Are you sure you don't want that ride?" the creep asked. I couldn't believe he had followed me. I wanted to say something boldly and show him I wasn't afraid and for him to leave me alone, but what came out of me was a quivering, "No thanks." I started speed walking, but the guy sped up and parked right on the sidewalk, nearly running me over. I screamed and ran around the car, but the guy opened the door and grabbed me. I was 17 at the time and a whopping 109 pounds, so my kicks and punches against him were no match. I was sure I was dead. The next thing I know, a pair of headlights pointed straight at us, and they were honking their horn like crazy. The man turned and still tried to shove me in the car, but was more distracted by the other car now. It was my dad and brother. Turns out they hadn't noticed I wasn't home, because I always got home and just locked myself in my room. When they realized I wasn't home, they drove to the bus stop where I get off and saw me getting attacked by that man. My brother jumped out of our car so fast and came running at us. The man dropped me and tried getting in his car, but my dad had gotten to us too quickly, and both him and my brother proceeded to beat the guy up. My brother then took me to our car while my dad had the man pinned down. We called the cops and the guy was arrested. Long story short, he got convicted, and turns out he had been in jail before for indecent exposure to a young girl. I got picked up for the rest of the year instead of having to take the bus home. I also got a taser and pepper spray and defense lessons. I'm pretty good at self-defense now, but luckily I haven't had to use them. My dad and brother saved me that night. But creepy man, other men, let's not meet again. So I've lurked on here long enough, and spoken to my mother to remember all the details. Here's my encounter. It was about November 2012 in Houston, Texas. I was taking night classes to become a medical assistant. A trade school, only 8 months of school, Monday through Thursday nights, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. I was driving a VW Passat. Kinda girly, I know. I had just left school at about 10:15. Had some homework I had questions over, blah blah blah. Had to stop at Walgreens for a prescription. There's really only one 24-hour Walgreens near my home, and it's right down the street from my school. I'm wearing royal blue scrubs, my student ID, and I'm tired. Getting my prescription in the back of the store, I'm not really paying attention to my surroundings. But then someone caught my eye. It was this guy. He kind of stood at the end of each aisle I was on. But I thought he was there doing the same thing I was. Anyway, I head up to the register because I had a few other items I had gotten, not just the prescription. And I realize this guy has walked right past me and is standing outside, near the trash cans at the entrance. As I'm walking to my car, I see him pick up his phone and he is watching me hardcore. I can kind of read his lips, and he was describing my appearance, car, build, and all of that to someone on the phone. So I get in my car, start it, he does the same. Now, it's worth noting that this Walgreens is 2 blocks away from the courthouse and the sheriff's office. I drive straight there once I get my shit together in my car. This guy followed me in his vehicle before realizing where I'm really going. The courthouse / sheriff's is kind of in a crappy neighborhood, or at least on the edge of it. I park, run inside, and ask to speak to an on-duty officer. Explain what had happened and what was happening. He takes a statement from me. I describe the man in almost perfect detail, and he offers me an escort home. We drive home, him a few car lengths behind me, and we make it there with no hiccups or no reappearance of the guy in his shitty Toyota Corolla. I park in my driveway, he circles around my cul-de-sac, and when he gets back to my house, calls me over to the patrol car. He has his laptop up with this guy's mugshot and record right there. Asks, "Is this him?" I nod yes. What he told me next still freaks me the absolute fuck out. As we were driving to my house, the other sheriffs in the area found him, pulled him over, searched the car, and found a young girl about my age, 19 at the time, in his trunk. He was known in the area for pimping, and was trying to get me as a possible prostitute of his. I am not going to go into too many details because, duh, but at the time I lived in a very well-to-do suburb of Houston. This kind of thing does not happen there, or should I say, the news does not report it there. So, creepy ass pimp dude, let's never ever meet. Well, you're probably in prison now. Still. So, let's not meet. All of the stories featured in this video are from the subreddit Let's Not Meet. I will credit the authors in the description below. This is my first Let's Not Meet reading, but if you like what you hear, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. If you would like to submit your stories for a chance to be featured on my channel, then send them to the link in the description below.